So tonight I'm showing you how to make the egg and ham and egg braid. And this is a great recipe for breakfast on Easter Day, or any day for that matter. And you can definitely prep it ahead a day or two and then go ahead and just put it in the fridge. Cover it really good with either saran wrap or aluminum foil, whatever your preference is there, and then pop it in the oven on Sunday morning or whatever morning you want it, and have it, ready to go. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do the braid, because that is something that a lot of people have questions about. And so we're going to go ahead and get cooking. We are going to whisk the eggs into this cheese. I wanted to have the eggs ready, but honestly, I want to show you how to do this because there is a trick to it so you don't get lumps in your eggs. So I'm going to microwave this for just like 15 seconds to soften it a little bit. We need to mix 8 eggs into this cream cheese. If we do all 8 eggs at one time, I guarantee you're going to end up with lumps in your eggs, and it's just annoying. I don't know if they cook out. I don't know, but I don't think they do. And so the best way to do this is to put in 1 egg at a time until you get it fairly thoroughly mixed. So that is the secret. So of course I did soften up the cream cheese a little bit, and we're just mixing in 1 egg. And when we get this in real good and smooth, we'll mix another egg in. And then once it's really thoroughly, like almost runny, we'll mix in the rest of the egg. And I usually do at least 3, 1 at a time, until I add the rest of the eggs. So let's see how this goes. Miss Maisie, this is her 3rd week living with us. Hi, Bunny. Yeah, we'll say hi in a minute. And she has quickly figured out that if I am in the kitchen doing anything cooking, the best place to stand is right at my feet, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so this is 3 eggs in, and it's looking pretty good. And so it's nice and runny. I'm not seeing hardly any little pieces of cream cheese. I mean, there's some little teeny bits, but nothing of significance. So now I'll go ahead and put the rest of the eggs in and mix them in together. And that's the secret. So things I learned the hard way all those years of doing live cooking shows, when I would mix in the cream cheese, or I'd try to mix it into the eggs, and it would not mix in. And I learned, I think just by trial and error, that little trick. And so now you know. And we are going to move over to the stovetop here to whip these up. So I'm going to go ahead and get this warming up, and then I'll move the camera here in just a second. All right, so we're going to add the milk, whisk that in. So the idea of using a really good stainless steel whisk is that it adds air to your eggs, makes them light and fluffy. This, I gotta show you, because I almost grabbed it. This is my original whisk. This came in my new consultant kit when I started the business in 1995. This whisk is almost 30 years old. Look at that. Looks like new. Works great. The tines haven't fallen out. There's lots of them, so it gets in and just adds that air really quickly. This was one of the reasons I fell in love with this company's product line, because their products work. So in the recipe, it's going to tell you to mix all the peppers and onions into this. I prefer to cook them up first because it just gives them, it just cooks them up better rather than stirring them into the eggs. So it's not a big deal. It's one of the things that if I was not married to Ken the chef, I probably wouldn't know to do any differently. I love the quick slice for dicing my peppers. You could certainly just use the food chopper. Oh, there you go, Maze. Yeah, I don't know if you like red pepper, but we'll find out. She carried it off. All right, so if you put this through here and then turn them and do it a second time, you get these perfectly diced peppers, which is what I love. So we're throwing those in. And then we're going to slice up the green onions. So if you have the quick slice and you forgot what you got it for, this is one of the best uses for it. If you are doing sliced peppers for like fajitas or just for a vegetable tray, you're taking a vegetable tray or you just want to put them out to snack on while you're watching Netflix or what have you. Quick slice. It's like an egg slicer on steroids. And that one slipped to this side. So we're going to just finish it off. Throw this in. You can hear it sizzling over here. I'll move the camera in just a minute. So green onions are just such a handy thing to have on hand. And I tend to forget to have them on hand. Or when I do have them on hand, like I'll get them for a recipe like this one, and then I'll forget about them in there. And so what I always recommend you do when you get green onions for a recipe is cut them all up. Oh, now these is... I just sent an onion to the floor. What do you think about that, babe? You are going to have some very interesting digestive responses, I'm afraid. So I'm actually going to save a little bit of the end here to put on the top when it comes out as a little garnish. These stem pieces, if they're still pretty solid like these are, they make a really nice little garnish. What I should have done when I first got this and used it for the other recipe was chopped all of these up and put them in a prep container because then they're just so handy. And it's a little thing that you can throw on top of tacos or whatever. It gives it a little extra flavor, a little extra flourish. It's a 30-second, not even, thing to do, but it looks and feels so special. So we've just got these sauteing, 3-5 minutes until what they're called crisp tender. So they're not like soggy. They still have shape to them. And now we're going to add our eggs. Now because this is going to go into the oven, we don't want these eggs to cook up completely. We are going to scramble them and we are going to just let them barely set up and take them off the heat, which I do need to turn up a little bit. I forgot to add salt and pepper, so let's do that. I believe the recipe has measurements. Here, I eyeball it. All right, we're gonna let those set for a minute. Now, when you are scrambling eggs, what you really wanna do is avoid stirring them the whole time. It's like sauteing chicken. You gotta just let it sit. And for me, with scrambled eggs, that's the hardest part. I wanna just keep stirring them. But you have to let them sit for 30 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds at least. And then give them a stir again and let them sit. Otherwise, they just will take forever to cook up. So this is a pretty hot burner, so I'm a little nervous about it. But they're starting to set. And if you've watched any of these before, you know I'm using my most used pan in the kitchen, this is an 11-inch saute pan. In the past, we've called it our family skillet. It's just a really great size. And even cooking for Ken and I use this one a lot. All right, so you can see how these are just starting to set up. And I am going to turn the heat off. Now, if you are an electric stovetop, you need to not just turn the heat off at this point, but you need to move the pan off the heat, off the burn. So we're going to take 2 cans of crescent rolls. I do strongly encourage you to leave them in the refrigerator until you actually need them. Okay, I did buy the low-fat ones, and they do work just as well as the regular. Just don't tell your, person that might grumble about that. Just don't tell them. They won't know any difference. And so, but you want to leave them in the fridge until you need them. Because if they sit out too long, they start to rise within the can. And that's when you get that really scary pop, actually. So we're going to roll these out on a rectangle stone. You can do this on the stoneware bar pan. It's a little trickier, but it can be done. And you want to just roll the 2 cans out side by side and press down those seams, just like that. Okay, you could use the rolling pin on it. The baker's roller works really nice for this. If you have it, it's handy. And what you really want to do is just not have them over the edge. Now, if you're doing this on the stoneware bar pan, these will kind of come up the edge because that pan's a little more narrow this way, okay? But on this flat stone, just want them right there in the edge. Okay, so now we need 10 strips on each side. So there's a couple ways to do this. I like the 2-finger method, where I just take 2 fingers and go down one side. You're gonna cut about a third of the way in. Oh wow, is it really 6 o'clock already? I'm sorry, guys. I can't believe it's 6 o'clock already. This is going longer than I meant. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So I've got 10 slits on this side. I'm going to do 10 on this side and try to just kind of get them straight across from the first 10. So eyeball it. And again, cutting a third of the way in. You can use a knife to do this. I just find the pizza cutter works so much more easily. And so that's why I recommend using a pizza cutter, but you don't have to. I just find it easier. All right, so now we have 10 slits, 10 stuff. We have the braid prepared, or the crust prepared. We're gonna put the eggs right down the center here. And like I said, because this is going in the oven, you want them set, but you don't want them to be overcooked. There's nothing worse than rubber eggs. Well, there is. It's called washing your chuck roast with Dawn dish soap, which is what the main portion of that video I'm talking about is all about. But anyway, let's not have rubber eggs either. So we're just kind of laying this down the center third of the dough, which is the part that I didn't cut into. So just kind of keep that in mind as you do this at home. All right, so can you see that? Yes, okay. The recipe says to buy deli ham, and you absolutely can do that with my blessing, but if you have Easter ham and it's already cooked, you can just use your Easter ham. So we're just gonna chop this up and throw it on. Okay, now if you were doing lunch meat ham that's like sliced, the dog's really interested now. She can smell the ham. You could literally you could chop it up, which is what I did on Saturday, or you could just lay it on top of those eggs and you'll cut through it when this comes out of the oven. I kind of like it chopped up because then I don't have to worry about trying to cut through it and it being a little snarky. So we're just gonna sprinkle this on top of the eggs, and then we are going to add our cheese and pop it in the oven. But I'm gonna show you the braid part first, because that's the part that everybody's like, how do you do that? So I will show you how. The big fatty piece there. Yes, Maisie. I know you want it, don't you? We are on our 3rd week with having Maisie at the home here. She's still in a theoretically foster to adopt, but we're keeping her. She's so sweet. She's such a good girl. Where'd you go? There you are. She's got her little Easter sweater on right now. I'll bring her up to show you in just a minute. So this calls for 4 ounces of cheese. You put as much cheese as you want in here. I think that's probably almost 8 ounces that I just chopped off there. And I'm going to use this one, which is the monster grater, because it's all going to melt anyway. Yeah. So this might look kind of funny, but it's just going to melt. At least I'm remembering to put it on the cheese. We were talking on Saturday. I was telling stories of how many times I would go to put the chicken broccoli braid in the oven at somebody's live cooking show years ago and realized I'd forgotten to put the broccoli in, or I'd forgotten to put the chicken in, or I'd forgotten to put the cheese in, or I'd forgotten the garlic, or, you know, just name the ingredient. I'm not sure I ever got through an entire show where I did the recipe correctly. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna just lay this on top of the ham. That's a lot of cheese. Save that little piece for nibbling here in a minute. So that is literally the first time I've used this massive chunk grater, and it does come with a food holder. I would actually recommend with this one you use that food holder. I didn't think about it, it's in the other room. With the fine grater, with the medium grater, I'm not too worried, but those are big grating things, whatever you call them, holes. Okay, so this is the secret to the braid, and I'm actually going to turn it this way. So this is how you do the braid. You're going to take a strip on either side, and you're not really braiding at all. You're simply going to pull them up and tuck one on top of the other, just like that. Then we're going to do the next one, and we're going to do the next one. The dog thinks I'm talking to her. She's just wagging her tail over here, like so. And this is going to be ready to go in the oven. Now this would be where I would say you could wrap this up, pop it in your fridge, and it would be okay as long as it's, I would say, 2 days in advance at the most. Okay, so there you go. Certainly on Saturday you could do it. You could, again, you could wrap it up, throw it in the fridge, and then just preheat your oven. The stones can go from the fridge to the oven. They just can't go from the freezer to the oven. So we have one last little thing to do here, and it is not an essential step, but it is a nice step. And this would be something that if you are going to do this ahead of time, you're going to want to wait and do this at the very end. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate an egg here using an egg separator. And the idea is to actually do this and throw the yolk in with the eggs before you mix them up. So I should have done this earlier, and I just completely forgot. And, well, and that didn't work very well either. Okay, so if that happens, you just pick the yolk up. And for this kind of work, it is no big deal if you get a little bit of yolk in there. You could just not even separate it. It's not that big of a deal. So I'm going to whisk this up. You can actually add a little bit of water to make it a little more fluid. You don't have to, but it does make it a little easier to work with. And take a basting brush. We're going to baste, or we're going to, I'm sorry, spread this. We're not basting. We're just going to pat this on. Now you want to do this right before it goes in the oven. Don't do this step if you're going to wrap this and, you know, bake it another day. This is a right before the oven step. Totally optional. We are literally going to just pop this in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes until this crust is golden brown, and it will be ready to go. We're going to pop this in the oven. And set the timer for 25 minutes. Good catch. Did you see that catch there, Maze? I was pretty impressed. All right. And I will post pictures when it's done. So I hope that was helpful to you. We have several braid recipes that you can find under the recipe tab. Come here, baby. You want to see everybody? Yeah. Say hello. Say, I got my Easter sweater on. Yes, we have our Easter sweater on. Anyway, if you go to the recipe tab of the website and type in the word braid in the search bar, it will bring up the chicken broccoli braid, and we have a kale and chicken braid. This one, there's a few others. You can also type the word ring in, and there's a whole bunch of things like the taco ring and the chicken club sandwich ring, old classic Pampered Chef recipes. Any of the rings can also be done as a braid. Any of the braids can also be done as a ring. They're the same ingredients, just a different shape. So I hope that gives you some ideas. I hope this recipe is something that you try. And if you do, I would love for you to share a picture with me. Share it either right here in the comments or just send it to me in a text message or post it in my VIP group. And if you are not in my VIP group, make sure you click that link and get over there. And have a wonderful Easter if I don't talk to you before then. Bye-bye.